Welcome everybody to the Car Chronicles. My name is Daniel. We're here at the Danial Experience Studio in our multi-million-dollar car outside with this beautiful ocean view. How are you? Are you well? Like seriously, like mentally, are you doing okay? Are you sleeping well? Are you eating well? Are you exercising, spending time with your loved ones? You know, as the year's beginning to wrap up, I think it's important to kind of just check in with yourself. I'm doing well. I'm doing a lot better now than I was a month ago, like night and day. I think Christmas for a lot of people is a time of, home and holidays, and you feel warmth, and not just, physical warmth in terms of like a fireplace, but emotional warmth, right? You get to go home to hopefully, people who you have good relationships with, people who you enjoy being around, people who energize you, make you feel good about yourself and make you feel happy. But my friends, I would also like to stress the importance of awareness and realizing that there are many people who don't have a family. There are many people who, quote unquote, they have the blood relatives. They have a father, if you even want to call them that, or a mother, but there's no actual relationship there. And I think this time of year is extremely tough because, I talk about things of like looking at social media posts, looking at people who have more followers than you, who are doing better than you, they have a better partner than you have, whatever. Now imagine it being Christmas time and you see everybody with their families. You see everybody excited to go home and have that big Christmas dinner. What if you don't have one? My friends, loneliness is a horrible thing. Loneliness is a very, very, very horrific thing. There's a reason why in prisons, one of the worst things, like the timeouts, are not to throw you to a pit of snakes or to beat you up, but generally they're to isolate you. They're to put you in a box and keep you away from everybody else. Well, what does that tell you? My friends, we are innate, social creatures. We got to talk to people. We got to go out. That's why, people who volunteer and people who are part of clubs have less chances of developing depression. They're more healthier individuals psychologically. They're people who, they find belonging in life. They find themselves in places and situations where they feel appreciated, where they feel loved, where they feel like they can contribute. And there's a lot of people who don't have that. So, my friends, if you can do something kind for someone, if you can make someone's day or just send someone a message over these holidays, I think you'd be making the world a difference, like a world of difference. I really do. I promise you there's someone who's feeling a little more lonely. Maybe they don't have family and maybe they don't come out here and make these videos or make any posts about it, but they just kind of keep to themselves. And a simple text or call or FaceTime, just checking in and being, hey, I was thinking about you. How are you? Hey, I missed your voice. I wanted to hear you. How have you been? Hi, what are you up to? Like, just a genuine, sincere, I want to hear about you. Because I know that there's a person or persons who you're thinking, oh, you know what? I should reach out to that person. I should speak to them. But for whatever reason, you've pushed it off. You've pushed it off and you're saying, oh, whatever, when time comes. But man, life is short. You've got to. You've got to do it. You've got to reach out to people and talk to them. But here's the thing, you don't have to. Let me contradict myself. You don't have to do anything. But I think, when we realize, we make this connection in our brains of how easy it is now, in the year 2020 that we're living in, to send a message out to someone. I'm not saying leave your house at 6 in the morning, go catch a train to visit an old friend, but man, if you can just send a message, hey, I was thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. Happy holidays. The sheer thought, my friends, that's what really counts. And I think it's a beautiful thing that you can do out of genuineness, right? From the bottom of your heart. It's coming from a place of love. And I think, if there's anything that can go around that's completely free, that can make a huge difference, that anyone can do, no matter their upbringing or where they're from or how much money they have, is kindness. I beg you almost, man. There's some people, seriously, like a kindness can go a long way, and it doesn't cost a cent, and just a smile and how are you goes a long way. So if you can make someone's day, why not? If it's that easy. And trust me, not only do they feel good, but you'll feel good about it as well. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say December, and I'm not 100% sure. So I don't want to say this with, what do they say, with emphatemy? With emphasis? You could say that. I don't want to say this with emphasis. I don't want to say this confidently. Yeah. So I don't want to say this confidently, but I believe if December is not the month with the highest suicide rates, it's probably one of the. Like if it's not the number one, it's probably up there, just because of the reasons that I mentioned earlier about people not having a family and loneliness and overall, you know, it gets darker too, right? And one of the things that contribute to our happiness is vitamin D, which we get from the sun. And in no way am I saying that just, you know, less sun equals you becoming depressed, but it does play a factor. You know, and you have to think that things build up, stress builds up, maybe you got finals, maybe you got laid off from work, maybe you don't get that big promotion you thought you were going to get. And, you know, it can be tough. Right? Or what if it's your first Christmas without, you know, a family member, a first Christmas without your partner? So they can be very tough, and it's just important to just be aware, you know, be aware and acknowledge that. 2020 has been a year, you know, and I almost put a and then fill in the blank year. At the beginning of the year, I'm not gonna lie, even throughout the summer when COVID was happening, and I understood the severity of it and how many people it was impacting and how many people it was dividing because of it, because of the people who were saying stay home at all costs against the people who were saying, man, forget this COVID thing, dude, let's go out, let's have fun. I was having a good time. I'm going to be completely honest. Just for me and my family, we were good, we were healthy, we stuck to our own thing for a while, you know, things were cool. You know, we did, you know, school online, which at first I was like, oh, you know, I wish I could see people like face to face, but afterwards you get used to it. You know, it's like, all right, sweet, I don't have to, you know, spend time on the bus, and I can, you know, I'm 2 minutes away from my fridge rather than running from building to building. So in that sense, it was nice. But I've also heard a lot of stories from other people about health situations and just traveling situations, you know, and if they say, Daniel, this was, you know, the worst year in the last couple of years, who am I to deny their perspective and their experience? And I think overall, for the majority of people, it's been an extremely tough year. From every aspect, from health aspect, economically, you know, I know a lot of people have gotten laid off. And it's tough. It's tough on a lot of people. You know, I was not surprised at all to hear this. In March, when everything shut down, social media use went up. Why? Because you're inside more, right? You're going to be on your phone more. Alcohol use went up. Alcohol consumption. Drug use went up. Depressive symptoms went up. Anxious symptoms went up. You know, so in one sense, you can kind of see how like this domino effect, like, did COVID make people more depressed? Well, it's like, well, man, indirectly, you know, it can have effects on you, right? Let's say you get laid off from work, now you don't have money, and now you really struggle paying rent. Now you can't, you know, go out and buy food and things. Now you can't go and see your friends, you know, that you would go see once a week just to kind of chill out. So we've taken it from you socially, we've taken it from you financially. It's troubling, man. It's a really tough spot to be in. And what I'm about to say is going to be different for different people, because the year 2020 has been different depending on your perspective and depending on your experience. But I do believe that with all the obstacles that we've gone through, I do believe that with all the barriers and everything that we've overcome, we've survived. You've come through. You made it. You're alive. And I think that is a pat on its back. That is a pat on your back on its own. You know, it wasn't easy, man. Life is not easy. This idea that, oh man, life's kind of cool, you just gotta, you know, go through our life having a good time. Man, there's so much darkness and suffering and just pain and unfair and just sadness. You know, but you learn how to deal with it, right? You learn how to adapt to it. You learn to become stronger. You learn to use your resources. You know, you learn to thrive. But this year was a really, really hard year. And my friends, you know, this is interesting because you get into the thing of like, should you applaud someone for doing the basics? For example, I was just going to say, you know, please pat yourself on the back for surviving this year, because it was a tough year, man. And I don't even know your circumstances, and I understand severities are going to differ. You know, someone may have failed a test, someone may have lost a family member. So I don't even want to compare those. But, oh man, what was I saying? I was on such a roll. Oh man, if only I had like a guy like behind the screen with like those like fat like flashcards, and it's like literally word for word, and he just drops it, da 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 da, you know, that'd be kind of goofy. Right. I was saying, you know, applauding people for doing the basics. So for example, you know, I'm so proud of you for going through this year. I don't know what you've been through, But whatever it is, whatever stress you've encountered, you overcame it. And because of that, I respect you for it. I love you for it. And I'm proud of you for it. I might not even know you, but I've got love for you. And that's all that matters. Seriously. Pat yourself on the back. It was tough, right? And now we get into this thing of like, well, like, duh, like, you know, I get through, like, everybody did it. But does that mean that we shouldn't applaud you? It's like saying, well, you know, applauding someone for getting a bachelor's degree. Like, you know, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm young, I'm, you know, 22 years old. I should have a bachelor's degree by now. It's like, but dude, but you're still doing it. Like, that's still good, in my opinion, you know? It's like, you know, imagine saying, hey man, I never missed a martial arts class, you know, in 5 years. Like, yeah, you're not supposed to. But it's like, man, like, it's a good thing. You know, I mean, it can be a little controversial, right? Because let's say this. You're with your boyfriend or girlfriend, and your girlfriend hasn't cheated on you in the last year. You know, would you go up to her and be like, hey, like, I'm really proud of you. You haven't cheated on me. Like, is that even something worth applauding? You know, is that even something worth praising? I don't know. You know, my immediate thought is you don't have to be as like direct about it. You know, you don't have to be as like dull about it. But I do think there's something to be said, you know, when someone continuously earns your trust. And if you want to see something be repeated, you should definitely praise them, right? With respects to the law of effect, right? You praise something, a person likes it, they're more likely to do it again, right? When they like the consequence, and the consequence or the outcome in this case is you praising them, they'll repeat it once more. So I think, you know, whether it's just going through a tough year and you be like, yeah, well, then let's just expect it. Like, duh, like we all do. But it's like, man, you know, you could not have. I think that's what I'm really trying to get at. You know, you could not have made it through. You know, and just to be honest, that could just mean, hey, you could have been a lot worse than you are right now. Could you have been better? 100%. Could you have been worse? 100%. And I think there's that fine balance of, hey man, like, pat yourself on the back. You deserve it. It was tough, and you made it through. And 2020 was a lot, you know, it was a lot of change. There was a lot of difference. There was a lot of adapting, a lot of modifying, you know. And I think the fact that you dealt with it personally, I believe it's made you a better person. I believe in any situation, you could always find a positive. You could always. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but I'm saying in any situation, you can find the negative or you can find the positive. I myself, given the option, I will always pick the positive. I won't look at the negative if I don't have to. Don't get me wrong. If it's a situation where it's constructive and you need to look at the negative because you failed, so you learn, that's a different story. But if I'm in a situation where there's nothing I can do about it, like literally nothing, why would I waste my time thinking about the negative? You know? Oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? Why does it always sound negative? Why can't it be positive? Wow, what if this happens? What if that happens? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's a mindset thing. You know, and I really do believe everything that's happened has made you a better person. I sincerely do believe that. And that you will look back on this year, not with anger, hopefully not with spite or sadness, but you'll look at it as a really, I don't want to cop out and say like, you know, strengthening your character. But seriously though, I would say this is one, you know, to use some MMA terminology, where you bit down on your mouthpiece, kept your head down, and you walked forward. You know, like a soldier, you marched forward into the battlefield, and it was tough, and it was brutal, and it was stressful, and it was chaotic, and a lot of people didn't know what was happening. A lot of people who went on the news and told you what to do, they really didn't know what was happening either. They were just getting their information from their higher up, you know, and he barely knew. Right? Because the science, you know, they just kept trying to catch up and see, you know, what is the best thing to do. Regardless, I think it's important to be praised and to be applauded. And even if that's just you talking to yourself, you know, thinking, hey man, I made it. This was tough, but I did it. And that's good. And I should be proud of myself for that. I think love is so important, my friends. I think self-love is unbelievably important. To love yourself, to love what you do, to love other people. You know, and I think when you love yourself, things get really bright. Like life gets really, really bright. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't really love anything else. You know, it's really hard to love life. It's really hard to love a job, or it's really hard to, you know, have love for a friend or a spouse or anything like that. So I think it all starts from you, man. It starts from, you know, how do you view yourself? And I'm out of my own curiosity, you know, what did you learn from this year? You know, what did you learn? What did you learn about yourself? I promise you it was something valuable. As long as you look back on it, don't dwell on the losses. Don't sit there day and night, but look at all right, what can I learn? And then move on. What can I learn to become better than I am? And then move on. I think that is really good, man. I think a little bit of adversity is good for people. I do. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking, I'm talking about waking up Mondays a little early. I'm talking about being under a little bit of stress, seeing how you move, right? I'm not talking about those more extremes, But I do think struggle is important in life, and I do think adversity is good in life. And I think as long as you're aware of it and you deal with it a little bit, you're a little bit more accustomed to it. As a friend, I would never want you to never be exposed to stress or struggle or hardship, because if you're not and you're in the safe bubble, all of a sudden when it does hit you, it will hit you like a truck, and it's going to be brutal. It's going to be almost impossible because you've never dealt with it. I think it's important to look at yourself. What do you do under stress? What do you do when that hormone cortisol starts going off? What do you do when you start stressing out? You don't feel like yourself. How do you handle the situation? Can you keep yourself under control? Can you keep other people under control? Can you lead a team? I'll be completely honest. I was in a position at one point where I was like, dude, I don't want to talk to anyone because I can't even talk to myself. Like in here, I was just so stressed out about different things going on. And I was like, man, I'm not even in the mood right now I don't even have patience for myself, let alone anyone else. So I think if anything, it really teaches you that, all right, when the waters are calm, I'm not going to be impressed that you steered, the boat the right way, that you sailed the right direction. I want to see what happens in times of stress. I want to see what happens when, there's problems that arise and something, doesn't go right. Like what do you do, when everything hits the fan, if you will? That's what I want to know. And I think for a lot of people, if you were like me and you really dropped the ball, good. Take note of that. Think, all right, when pressure hit, that's what happened. I want you to be mindful of the fact of, all right, listen, in life, there's going to be lots of stress. And there's two ways I can respond to stress. Or really, two ways you can respond to anything in life. You have your primary response and your secondary response. Your primary response is you change it. You literally change it. For example, let's say I don't feel good. Why? Because I'm not sleeping well. My primary response would be to change my own behavior. So I start sleeping earlier, right? I start sleeping at the same time. A secondary response is when you can't change it, but you act according to it. It's more passive. You react to it as opposed to primary, which is more active. So for example, secondary might be a family member, a loved one got really, really sick. Now, you don't really have a primary response because it's not in your control, right? You can't change the sickness itself. However, the secondary response that you can give is how you think about it. It's how you react to it, It's how you support them. You can't change the sickness, but you can change your feelings towards it. Does that kind of make sense? Like the first one, primary, is like you're doing it, you're changing in and of itself. But secondary is like you're not changing it, but you're adapting to it. You're reacting to it, you're taking it in, you're almost absorbing it and kind of modifying it to fit your own, world, if you may. So, but just with regards to stress, I think it's important to just be open to stress and deal with it and work with it and just understand, what it does to you, how it kind of fogs up your brain and it becomes a lot harder to concentrate. A lot of things we want to respond to in life, you got to understand, man, stress is going to come up repeatedly. Stress is going to be all around you forever. And it's not, I don't believe the answer is to hide and pretend it doesn't exist and just ignore your responsibilities, but I also don't believe that you should go out looking for it. I don't believe that you should be cautious about it and staying up at night, worrying about things, we're stressed about how am I going to, do this the next day, if you don't have to. Unnecessary worrying, I mean. I think there is a balance between you respect it, that it's coming, but you're not up, crazy-eyed waiting for it, right? You're relaxed. You're able to slow down your breathing. You're able to be mindful about it. And I think thinking like that, you can really learn to respect stress. Not like it. You don't have to like it. Like you could be like, oh man, I hate stress. Like that's fair, but it's going to come again, It's going to happen again whether you like it or not. But so what if you respect it? What if you respect it for what it is? You know, like, you know what else I respect? I respect water. Like, water can kill you. And I really respect water. I don't like it, I don't this, but I respect it. Because water is a powerful thing. I know this took a weird turn, but like, listen to me right now, right? I drink water and it's great. It's one of those healthiest things I can do. But if I'm in an ocean, it could kill me. Like, water could just drown you. You know, you get caught up in a current or something, and you hit rocks. Like, you gotta respect. Like, it's dangerous. You know, you gotta respect it. I think that's really important in life. You know, sometimes you're in situations, you know, emotionally or literally, like physically, and it's not a matter of, you know, I like it or I dislike it, but it's just, you gotta learn to respect it and understand it's gonna be there regardless of how you feel, whether it's your emotions, whether it's the ocean and the waves, or whether it's completely other things. For example, I was watching this video, man, it was on YouTube. There's this kid, and he appears to be I believe it was BC. I want to say BC or Alberta. Anyways, he's walking along this trail, right? Beautiful trees, gorgeous. And all of a sudden, he hears something in the trees. And he hears this growling. He's like, oh God. You know, he's maybe a few years older than me. And then he turns around. And there's this, man, what was it? Was it a cougar? I want to say it was a cougar. I feel like, yeah, maybe a cougar of some sorts. You know, it was small, but man, it looked menacing. And it's maybe 7-8 meters away from him. And he's looking at it and he's taking a video of it. And as he's looking at it, he's just slowly walking backwards. And this thing is just walking him down. And he just keeps walking him backwards. He's not going to run because he's worried it'll chase him, right? He's not going to stop because if he stops, it's going to get him. It's going to get real close. And I saw this kid for about 4 or 5 minutes just walking backwards. He's shouting at it, screaming at it, blah, 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 you know, to get it to scare off, and nothing would. And it was just walking him down. How does this relate to stress and stuff? Man, again, you could say, well, you know, being under stress and being calm or whatever. But recently, man, I've been thinking, as human beings, we are like hilariously inadequate to survive. Like, I was thinking about it, right? Like, as this cougar was walking him down and he's walking backwards, I was like, man, if he runs, it'll chase him. It's faster than him. If they get into a fight, he didn't have a knife or anything on him. I said, its claws are sharper than yours. Its teeth are sharper than yours. You know, it can probably see better than you can. It probably saw you way before you saw it, for a fact. It can smell better than you can. It can probably hear better than you can. Like, you are so hilariously outmatched. Like, it's almost hard to fathom. Seriously. If you're like head to head with a bear, like, rest in peace. But you know, this is one thing that fascinates me between a confrontation between an animal or just anything that could really kill you. You know, anything that could seriously threaten you, is you're not in control. You know, that worries me. That worries me. You know, you find yourself in a situation where there's nothing you can do about it, and the opposition can pick what's going to happen. They can pick if they want to pursue this further. They can pick if they want to break your bone, if they want to take your life, or if they want to walk away. It's not in your hands, and that terrifies me. So I've been thinking about that recently, you know, just with respect to stress and respecting things, you know, and it's like, oh, I don't like, you know, cougars and I don't like bears. Well, guess what? If you're in British Columbia or other places, and I mean, depending on what you got, you can have so many things, man. You can have wolves, you can have coyotes, you can have, you know, cougars, you can have panthers, you know, but man, like, just animals can really F you up. Like I don't think you're understanding, like, how crazy, like, this is what I want you to do, right? Go to YouTube, type in snake eats deer. A snake eating a full deer, right? Type in, you know, like, grizzly bears, like, fighting each other, you know, type in, what's another one I've seen? Grizzly bear chases biker. Like, there's this guy, like you just start looking, like, oh my God, like, if this thing got a hold of me, like, I'm done. I'm 100% done. Like, I genuinely think that for anyone who goes out on hikes and even like just running some trails, man, you should be prepared. You should always have things on you. You know, I've just been recently looking at that in terms of, you know, whatever, whether you were talking about spray or, you know, horn or knives, like, Jesus, like, that stuff's important, man. Better than to have it and not need it, than to need it and not have it. Am I right? Seriously, like, listen, I'm not saying your little itty bitty knife is gonna, you know, kill the bear. But I'm saying it's better than nothing, right? It's still going to tear your face off, but it's better than nothing. Because you look at the human skin and, like, it's so soft, and that kind of thing could just tear you to shreds. Oh, God. I mean, you don't even stand it. Like, how much does a bear weigh? Straight up, how much does a bear weigh? 1,000 pounds? There's probably something to go with. Oh, yeah, there's definitely something that'd be more than 1,000 pounds. 1,200? 1,300? Like that's, like, oh, my God. Like, if a bear was in front of me and wanted to rip my head off, what would I do? Then you could say, oh, I'd do this and I'd run and I'd hit him in the face. Like, come on, brother. Like, I mean, seriously, dude, like if you ever go out there, Daniel teaches the survival guide expert. Seriously, it's not a bad idea to have a gun. For the first time in my life, I've genuinely thinking about guns now. Because I always thought about, guns as like self-defense, and I wasn't a big fan in that nature. But if you're talking about hunting, people make the mistake. They go, oh man, Canada, they don't have guns. Man, Canada has a fudge load of guns, man. Huge. I had one teacher in high school. He said, guys, I've almost had any hunting gun known to man, right? And we're in British Columbia, Canada, so you're like, well, I don't understand. How do how do you have guns here? And well, for hunting, right? For hunting, they give those suckers out, right? You're good to go. So anything like, like those little snipery ones, I'm not gonna pretend like I know the names, but they're basically just meant for hunting, right? Just you get a hunting license, you get a hunting permit, and you can use them for hunting. They're good. I believe the only one that you cannot get is a handgun, and as well as with like automatic, right? But handguns, I believe, were solely meant for self-defense against another person. I believe you can't get handguns, but I have to double check that. But yeah, I've been thinking about it. Like seriously, like if there's a bear or a wolf or something, man, like you'd be good off with a gun or something, Like at best case scenario, like you want to have a gun, you want to have a knife, you want to have a horn. Like nature is like when you go into a forest. Like I don't know if you folks go camping. I've been a handful of times, man. You're stepping into their backyard. Like that's their home. And I think to underestimate nature and the capabilities of some of those animals, I think that's foolish, my friends. I think you should always be ready. I think you should always be prepared. And again, shouts out to that earlier stress talk we had. When you're in the moment and you're facing this creature, this animal, and you're not sure, you can't predict its habit. It gets very scary, extremely scary. It's not like, oh, I'll see it, I'll do this. Man, if it's standing across from you, 3-4 meters, and it's looking at like it's about to rip your throat out, that's a different story, ladies and gentlemen. That's a different story. It's important. So if you're hearing this, seriously, I mean, you already know this. Like if you've already gone out on like those big hikes or camping or whatever, I know you got some sort of first aid kit, some sort of, thing for self-defense, or so I hope. But for the people who aren't and are going to go about that life, are going to go the hiking up and the traveling and going up mountains, I would think it's foolish not to have something. Seriously. Man, like bears and wolves and cougars and Jesus, man. What a bad way to go, huh? Just tearing you apart limb from limb. God, what if it's like a pack? What if it's like a pack of wolves? Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Oh, man. Do you know how sharp the teeth of a cougar or a wolf are? Dear God. Like, what are you going to do? Outrun it? Like, good luck. Oh, Jesus. Dear Lord. I can imagine one person listening to this be like, oh, I hope he talks about anxiety today, or like, I hope he talks about like confidence, and then he just hears like a pack of wolves just devouring you. Like, seriously though, do you think about self-defense? Like, just on a whole other note, like, do you think about it? Like, is that ever a thought that occurs? All right, let's play this out. You're walking at night, man or woman. You're walking, it's late, it's past midnight, you're walking home, there's a guy walking behind you, he's kind of shady. Let's hope to God nothing happens. This is just a stranger walking by. If he was to do something, if he was to try something, could you do something about it? Now, as you answer that in your head, I'm curious, what would it be? Because if you do self-defense, if you do a martial art, you might say, yeah, like I'll try this technique, or I've been doing this or whatever. You might say, oh, I'll scream really loud, or I'll run, or you might say, I got a spray or something, in my purse, or yeah, I'll hit him, I'll knock him out, UFC style, okay. That's something that interests me. Like I wonder if, like, how often do you think about that, or is that just like, it's so slim to happening that you don't even prepare for it. Like, it's like, nah, man, like the chances of it happening are probably like 0. So it's not even worth my time. Because I've thought about it. I think about it quite a lot, actually. I think about it. That's one of the reasons why I don't, why oftentimes, like if I'm out, unless I'm maybe jogging, I don't have earbuds in. I think it's important to be aware of your surroundings. And I think you shouldn't trust everyone, and if you can, always side with caution. But I'm curious about that because I do know some people who are like, no, it's not even a thought. Like self-defense is not even a thought. It's like, why would anyone want to beat me up? I'm a good guy. It's like, dude, it's not even about that. Maybe after your wallet, you know. And he's like, well, then I don't make that much money. Like, yeah, dude, he doesn't know that, you know. It might be about that. It might be the dude just had a bad day and he's just looking to take someone's head off, and you're just in the wrong place, wrong time. So I think it's important, I think it's interesting how we just went from stress to animals to this. But seriously though, I think self-defense is important in some nature. I think you should think about it. I really do. I think, I'm not saying everybody should go register in boxing and wrestling classes, but as God is my witness, I believe for you and for the people who you love, it should be a thought of be like, hey man, not everyone is a good person out there. And you know what I'm fascinated by? I'm fascinated by how much people trust complete strangers. Now, by no means do I want to make you cautious. I mean, no, that's not what I meant. But no means do I want to make you like paranoid or anything. But man, like I'll be at a stoplight. I don't know if I've already shared this, but the light will turn green. But I'm not going to wait until I look at the other car stop. Some of these people around me, at these stoplights, they're super confident. Like as soon as that light says like you're good to go, they just start walking. They don't even look left and right. They're like, well, the light says go. I'm like, you trust the light? You trust whoever's behind that wheel to stop? They're like, of course. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't they stop? 2 separate occasions. I swear to God, I'm walking. I press the button, red light. For the other car, it goes from green to yellow to red. For me, it gives me the thumbs up to start walking. I'm like, you know what? Let me just check and see if the car is going to stop. I look over, and the car passed me. It wouldn't have stopped. It just went through. I guess maybe it was like a late yellow or something. 2 separate occasions. I never trust anyone else. Because whose fault is that if I get hit? The easy thing is to be like, oh, it was the car's fault. It didn't stop, blah, blah. Yeah, dude, what if you're paralyzed now? Whose fault was it really? You could still say it's the car's fault. That's fine. I accept that. Me being who I am, I'd say it's my fault. I'd say it was my fault for putting my life into your hands. I have no idea who you are. I should have checked left and right. That was on me. I take the blame. You might disagree. That's okay. That's just my philosophy of life. So when we talk about, trusting other people, it's like, man, like, I don't know where that comes from. Like, is it just, if you don't think about self-defense at all, is it just the idea of like, oh, like, it just probably won't happen, like slim to none? Or maybe it's this idea of like, oh, I won't put myself in positions where that is a likely scenario, Maybe you say to yourself, well, I'll just make sure I'm not out too late and I'm not in alleyways, I'll stay in the public area. That's a fair way to look at it. I would argue that sometimes in life you can't decide. Like sometimes you just find yourself in places, but you're right, for the majority of the time. You can steer clear of ways that you don't feel comfortable with. But I think it's worth a thought, my friends. It's worth a thought for anyone, for guys and especially ladies. And I say that because of the size, right? Statistically speaking, you're going to find guys who are bigger and stronger and taller and more muscular than women, right? Women are, statistically speaking, with respects to bone structure and whatnot, women are smaller, maybe probably not as muscular. So it's important, man. I think it's important to think about. I don't know what that means for you. I don't know if it just means you're just going to be more aware of your surroundings, if you're going to carry something with you, Because it's scary, man. There's some creeps out there. There really are. And to pretend, like, what's ridiculous? Like, I was reading this post and I was like, man, like, if only people didn't kill, or if only people didn't sexually assault. I think that's the wrong kind of mindset. I'll tell you why. For you to sit there and go, you know what? I shouldn't have to protect myself. You shouldn't have to kill me. Or you shouldn't have to sexually assault people. It's like, my friend, here's the problem. I know that that's wrong. You know that that's wrong. The person doing it knows that it's wrong. They don't care. They're going to do it anyway. Logic and rationale and reasoning is out the window. So please don't have this idea of like, killing is wrong. They should know better. That's his fault. Don't do it. Like, as a friend, I might not even know you, but please, from safety reasons, do not do it. Always, oh man, it's tough because with this attitude, I sound like everybody's a creep. But I feel like erring with the side of caution. I think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a bad idea, right? Because you never know. You never know. You can meet a guy, smiley, miley, is good, jolly like me, friendly, and then who knows? Who knows? Wouldn't you feel better? Peace of mind, just having something in your back pocket, literally or metaphorically. And again, this can be, you're in the wilderness, there might be animals about, or it can just be for your own sake, just with people. You know, I'm going to say this, folks. There's some bad people out there, and they do bad things, and they don't care that it's wrong. So please don't have this mindset of like, I wish people wouldn't kill or steal or sexually assault. Man, it's going to happen. And I don't think there'll ever be a time where it won't happen. Mind you, it's not sensible, rational, you know, good people. And there's, you know, it's not like the majority of the people are doing it, but there will always be people who do it. And I think, you know, sitting back and be like, no, it's your fault for doing it. I don't think that's the right philosophy. I think you should please take it seriously. And if you have not thought about self-defense like whatsoever, zero, I promise you if you think about it the right way, it'll only do good. It'll only do good. Now, there are some problems when you start to, you know, look at like getting guns in the house and stuff. Because I have heard stories where, you know, you're speaking to your spouse and you get into an argument, whatever, and if you have a gun, a loaded gun that's close or on the table, you know, it's problematic. I don't want to insinuate anything, but it can escalate things to a deadly level. But in general, I do think, man, self-defense is important to think about. My own recommendation would be martial arts. Go after martial arts. It's amazing. It's good. So you don't have to worry about carrying a knife or having a gun or anything like that, because it's, you never want to, you know, seriously hurt anyone, right? Never. You just want to protect yourself. You want to protect your own life. You want to protect the people around you. I would 100% recommend martial arts to anyone who's listening. Seriously. If you're hey man, you know, I want to get some exercise, man, they'll work you, man, depending on the class, but you can't go around with like wrestling or something or jiu-jitsu or something, man. You'll be sweating from head to toe. Seriously. You know, or really any art, man. It just depends on the class and the instructor specifically, but I would highly, highly recommend martial arts. And again, there's so many that you can get into. You know, you might say, oh, I'm not even into fighting, man. I'm not aggressive. Man, if anything, you go there and forget the punches and kicks. It's an art. It's beautiful. You go there. There's a bunch of people there. You can talk to them. You know, it's good. It's a sense of community. 99% of the time, my friends, people who go towards martial arts are good people. Seriously. Like, I've never met any jerks who do martial arts. And if they are, they don't stay in it very long, you know, because usually they're a part of a club and they have an instructor. So either what would happen is the instructor would kick it to them, you know, or the club members would stick it to them, so they don't stay long. Seriously. I would highly, highly recommend it, folks. If you're on the borderline of looking at like getting into any martial art, I would highly recommend you do your YouTube, do some research, you know, see what is out there for you. There's so many different ones, man. There's so many different ones out there. Just worst case scenario, you go to a class and it's not for you. But I would seriously recommend, from a martial arts perspective, the safest thing that you can do to not only, you know, be safe yourself, but to be safe with the other people around you, right? Not every martial arts thing is you got to have a knife on you, you know? It could just be, hey, you know, I know how to control someone. You know, you can be mindful of it too, right? Is it, you know, what do you do if someone goes to push you? What do you do? What do you do if someone grabs your hand? What do you do if someone's stronger than you and they grab your hand? What do you do if someone comes, you know, so just, it's good. In my opinion, I think everybody should know the basics of something, anything. This is exactly how I feel about being in the nature and being in the wild with those animals, you know. I'm not saying that bear is not going to fuck you up, but I'm saying, man, knowing something. I'm not saying you're going to be able to, you know, oh yeah, you know, I boxed the bear, you know, I got him rounds 1 through 3, he got me through, you know, 4 through 7, but I do think having something in your arsenal, you know, is better than absolutely nothing, right? In that, you know, animal situation, I'm talking about a horn, you know, a spray, a knife, a gun, fire, something, you know. So again, and then in the person-to-person self-defense, I really do mean like something, you know, it could be whatever, you know, whatever you think is adequate. But really, my friends, look out for yourselves. You know, there's a lot of bad people out there, and a lot of bad things happen to good people who are just unaware and they're caught in a bad situation. And I hope to God you are not. But I would rather you be careful and have it not happen than have it happen. And you might say, well, Daniel, let's say I go into martial arts, I train all these months and years and it never happens. But don't you have a peace of mind? And even if you want to look at it as like wasted, like, dude, it's going to improve your confidence. It's going to improve your physically. Like, it puts you in such good shape. What I can promise you from almost any martial art you go into is cardio, man. It's going to improve your heart, improve your lungs. Chances are they're going to improve your legs from all the movement and footwork. Like, seriously, I cannot emphasize it enough. It's really good. It's really, really, really good. So get yourself out there. You know, the reason why I just didn't say sports in general, because everything makes you feel good and is good for your body and good for you psychologically, it's because martial arts, man, you got 2 birds in 1 stone, right? You get the self-defense aspect and it's good for you, you know? So it's awesome. It's really, really good. So if you learned anything from this, 2020 has been a tough year. It's important to learn to deal with stress. Wolves and bears can really tear you apart limb from limb, so it's good to be careful. And there's some really bad people out there. And you might be totally innocent and you did nothing wrong. But if they decide they want to start something, I hope that you have something in your back pocket just in case. My friends, this has been another episode. Yeah. That was good. It was all over the place. There's a lot going on, but you know what? That's what was in my head. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, I really appreciate everyone who subscribes, everyone who likes. Thank you, my friends. It means the world to me. Anyone listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really, really appreciate it. Enjoy the holidays, my friends. Have a happy, stress-free, relaxing time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.